Algebra 2 trigonometry, higher power radicals. So, in the previous lecture, we were discussing how to simplify square roots, which is something you've done for a couple of years now. But this might be the first time you're seeing higher power roots, and we call them like cubed root, fourth root, fifth root. And if you look at our first example here, we see that there is a number here, number 3, and that means that this is the cubed root of 27. But before we even get to this, let's just do a little background on numbers in general, that you should know the powers of, really 3, 4, 5 are really the only ones you're really going to have to deal with. A 2, 3, 4, 5, I would say. So as far as the powers of 2 go, 2 to the first is 2, 2 squared is 4, 2 cubed, and if we were to do cubed root, 2 to the third, that's 2 times 2 times 2 is 8. 2 to the fourth would be 16, and 2 to the fifth would be 32. And we really don't go much higher than fifth root, I mean, occasionally, but you could always play with it and kind of figure it out. So for 3, you definitely need to know 3 to the first is 3. I guess that's kind of an obvious one. 3 squared is 9. You've known that for a while. 3 cubed, you might not know, but 3 times 3 times 3 is 27, and it's just 9 times 3. 3 to the fourth equals 81, and that's really as far as we go as that. 3 to the fifth would be 81 times 3. I don't even know that off the top of my head. I don't want to give you a wrong number, so let me check it on my calculator. It's 243, yeah. But I doubt you would even go that high, and if you do, you have a calculator you can kind of check it with. As far as powers of 4, you got to know 4 to the first is 4. 4 squared is 16. That's pretty sloppy, but I think you get it. 4 cubed is 64, and that's really as high as we go with 4. Because, again, we don't expect you to, I mean, these are the ones that you should kind of know right away. Obviously you have a calculator you can play with. This is an interesting one because 64, well, the square root of 64 is 8. We've known that for a while, but the cubed root of 64 is 4. 4 times 4 times 4 is 64. And then lastly, you should also know the power of 5 to 3. 5 to the first is 5. 5 squared is 25. Again, those two hopefully you know. But 5 cubed, 5 times 5 times 5 is 125. And anything beyond these, the numbers get very, very large, so we don't really expect you to know them. And I mean, any of these you could kind of figure it out on your calculator too, and I'll show you some of that, but these are the ones that you're going to see often and need to be somewhat familiar with. So the cubed root of 27 is 3, because 3 times 3 times 3 is 27. Now, the square root, we didn't have a number there, but I mentioned in the previous video you could think of a 2 there. So you always know what root number you're doing by the little number here. It's not an exponent. Well, it kind of is like an exponent, but we'll learn about that more when we have an exponent chapter later on. But that means cubed root. Now, you can do that in your calculator. You can do cubed root, fourth root, fifth root, and stuff on your calculator. There is a, excuse me one second. Okay, sorry, I'm at school. An announcement just popped on, so I had to pause the recording, and hopefully you didn't hear too much of it. All right, so how do we do cubed root? Well, there actually is a cubed root button, but I want to give you one way to do all the different power roots. So if you want to do cubed root, you start off by hitting the number 3. You hit the number root you want to do. So if I wanted to do fifth root, I'd hit a 5. And then you go into the math folder, and choice 4 here is where you would do cubed root without hitting 3. But choice 5, where it says has an x in front of a radical, that's how you do any root you want. And so the number you push is going to go where the x is. So since we put a 3 in our calculator, when we hit this, it's going to go to cubed root. If we put a 7 and then this, it would go to 7th root. So choice 5 is how you do that. And then you could type in 27, and that'll get you the answer 3. All right, number 2 says let a be the fourth root of 81. Let b equal the square root, and I know it's square root because there's no number, the square root of 9, and c equal the fifth root of 243. So I should figure out what these are. Now the fourth root of 81, if you just kind of have it memorized, you would know that it's 3, but let's say that we don't. Let's type that into our calculator. Let's type all these into our calculator while we're at it. Let's see, the fourth root, so math 5 of 81 is 3. The square root, I could do what we were doing for that, or I could do my usual square root stuff. The square root of 9 is 3. And the fifth root, so fifth, and then math 5, for fifth root of 243 is also 3. What do you know? So, A is 3, B is 3, C is 3. Is A less than B? No. Is B greater than C? No. Is A equal to C? Absolutely. In fact, A and B and C all equal each other. So the answer would be D. All right, you're not going to have a whole lot of just what's the cubed root of 27 type of stuff because you could just type it into your calculator. But you will see some questions like this where we're going to have variables and things like that. So the cubed root of 8 is 2. And that's a common one. That is one you should know, but you can type it into your calculator if you don't. Cubed root of 8, but it is 2 times 2 times 2. So cubed root of 8 is 2. So I don't know what these 5s are doing here. And then if you remember what we did for square root with exponents yesterday, is we took our exponent and divided by 2 because it was square root. Well, for higher power, we're going to divide by whatever that root number is. So for cubed root, we're going to divide by 3. So 6 divided by 3 is 2. All right, what if it doesn't divide nicely by 3? So first of all, cubed root of 54. Type it in. Not going to be super helpful, actually. So let me show you. 3, math, 5 is how I get cubed root of 54. And no, that was not on our list. So you're not going to have to simplify these numbers too often, but you need to do just exactly what we did with square root, where we had to think of two numbers that multiply to it, but for square root, one of them had to be a square. For cubed root, one of them has to be a cube. And so you should be familiar with the basic cubes. Again, 1 is a power of everything, but that's not going to really help us. 8 is 2 cubed. 27 is 3 cubed. 64 is 4 cubed, and already I'm out of the range of 54. So it's going to be one of these, and you can see that 54 divided by 8 doesn't work, but 54 divided by 27 is half of it. So that's your 2. So when in doubt, you can do a little guess and check. So we could think of this as 27 and 2. And the cubed root of 27 is 3. And 2 is going to stay inside. But this is not 3 square root 2. It's 3 cubed root 2. That's how you would reduce or add 54. Sorry about the announcement. Okay. Hopefully you're not that kid. All right. So how about these variables? Well, in square root, towards the end of class, we talked about, well, you divide it by that number, and if there's a remainder, that's what stays inside. So 7 divided by 3. So x to the cubed root of x to the 7th. And again, think in terms of long division. 7 divided by 3. How many 3's go into 7? 2 3's go into 7, forming 6 with a remainder of 1. So that'd be 2 remainder 1. So that means it's going to be x squared with 1 left inside. But don't forget to do the little 3 symbol for cubed root. Y to the 19th. Let me do this one over to the side too, and then I'll put it all together. So the cubed root of y to the 19th. Well, I'm basically doing 19 divided by 3. And so let's see, what's a multiple of 3 close to 19 would be 18, right? That's 6. All right, 3 times 6, 18 with a remainder of 1. So 6 remainder 1. That means it's going to reduce to y to the 6th with a cubed root remainder of 1. So if I put all 3 of these together, I'll end up with 3 came out, an x squared came out, a y to the 6th came out, and remaining in the cubed root, again, you really can't forget to put that cubed root symbol, otherwise it's a square root and it's wrong, is 2 x to the 1st, y to the 1st. That is our final answer. So again, just to recap, in the 54, you want to think of cubes, 1, 8, 27, 64. If I was doing fourth root, I want to think of power 4 numbers. But we really don't get too crazy with that. But the exponents really do need to understand that this is 7 divided by 3, which would be 2 with a remainder of 1. That's why it's 2 out with a remainder of 1 inside. And 19 divided by 3 is 6 with also a remainder of 1. Now you could have a remainder of 2 inside for a power 3. All right, so we're about the 10-minute mark, and I think that's good enough. So we'll pick up number 5 in class tomorrow. See ya.